In an interview with beloved actor and activist Terry Crews, CNN's Don Lemon proposed not to make Black Lives Matter about black-on-black crime, as if it is a minor issue in our community. However, in 2013, Lemon had some tough love for the black community, making emphasis on this issue. Will he be able to do the same today that division and polarization seems so profitable for established media? Stay tuned until the end and let's find it out together. Here we go! Hi guys, welcome to RealityExplaining. As we covered in the previous episode, Don Lemon interviewed Terry Crews on his statements on Twitter regarding the Black Lives Matter leaders and their divisive anti-white message, and how they strategically avoid talking about the big issues affecting our community, namely the issue of the missing fathers and the black-on-black crime, issues that affect black people several times more than police harassment and police brutality after resisting arrest. These are the abstracts of this interview.
Well, again, I wanted to bring up the fact that, there are some very, very, militant type forces in Black Lives Matter. And what I was issuing was a warning. It's one of those things where I've been a part of different groups, I've been a part of different things, and you see how extremes can really can go far and can go wild. And when you have the leaders of the Black Lives Movement who are now talking about, if we don't get our demands, we're going to burn it down. Other Black people who are talking about working with other whites and other races, they're being viewed as sellouts or called Uncle Toms. You start to understand that you are now, being controlled. You're not being treated as loved. You're actually being controlled. Someone wants to control the narrative. And I viewed it as a very, very dangerous self-righteousness that was developing that really viewed themselves as better. It was listen, I don't want to move from one oppressor to the next. And one thing that really
who's the next oppressor? Who's the next oppressor?
Oh, when I describe this, when you look in the city of Chicago, there are 9 children who've died by gun violence, by black-on-black gun violence, from June 20th all the way to today. And you're talking about even with the Atlanta child murders, there were 28 kids who died in 2 years. You're talking about a month, and you have 9 black kids, and the Black Lives Matter movement has said nothing. This is the thing, Don. Black people need to hold other black people accountable. I said this the same thing. This is the Black America's version of the Me Too movement. If anything is going to change, we ourselves need to look at our own communities and look at each other and say, this thing cannot go down. And this is the thing, too. There are a lot of great, great people there who are held hostage, by people who literally are running these neighborhoods with violence and then claiming that Black Lives Matter.
The Black Lives Matter movement was started because it was talking about police brutality. If you want an all Black Lives Matter movement that talks about gun violence in communities, including, black communities, then start that movement with that name. But that's not what Black Lives Matter is about. It's not an all-encompassing. So the Black Lives Matter movement is about police brutality and injustice in that manner, not about what's happening in black neighborhoods. There are people who are working on that issue, and if you want to start that issue, why don't you start it? Do you understand what I'm saying?
But when you look at the organization, police brutality is not the only thing they're talking about.
Don Lemon stated that Black Lives Matter is only about police brutality. In fact, it's not. In the blacklivesmatter.com website, the organization lists a set of goals apart from fighting against police brutality. Among them, you'll see changing quote-unquote anti-black policies in the law, not necessarily related to police brutality, ousting anti-black politicians, not related to police brutality, winning critical legislation to benefit black lives, not necessarily related to police brutality, making space for transgender brothers and sisters to participate and lead, not related to police brutality, not even related to race, just intersectionality. So it's about identity politics, not justice. Dismantling the patriarchal practice that requires mothers to work double shifts, not related to police brutality. How is it even patriarchal to have 2 jobs? disrupting the Western prescribed nuclear family structure by supporting each other as extended families in villages. So, no accountability for these baby mama maker men that knock you up and immediately leave you. This organization obviously don't want black people to be questioned. All bad things must come from the whites. So divisive, so childish. Also, not related to police brutality. Freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking. Again, not only not related to police brutality, but it's just intersectionality, identity politics, not justice. Fighting against elected officials, be it Democrat or Republican, who don't share our vision that is radical and intersectional. Okay, first, be it Democrat or Republican, it in an intersectional victimhood organization so offended of language they don't have a problem referring to other fellow humans as it? Wouldn't it be better to intersectionally change it to be them Democrat or Republican? So offensive language works in one way? Predictable, the double standard. Second, fighting against elected officials who don't share our vision that is radical and intersectional? Fighting? Do they mean by any means necessary? What does fighting mean in this enraged context? Our vision that is radical and intersectional? Isn't it funny when these organizations deny to be radical, but openly state to be radicals in their website? It's always funny. Now, radical? What do they mean by radical? We already know that the protests are violent. Are they expecting to go further? How further? How further are they willing to call themselves out in the comments below where they can be read and be tracked? Something I find interesting is the use of the word comrade several times in their website. First, back in the Caribbean where we come from, the word comrade is strongly related to the lack of intimacy in an adult, if you know what I mean, the lack of a partner. Comrade is a word that pro-dictatorship socialists in public universities used to refer to themselves, and for their looks ugly as the Che Guevara and their lack of normal social skill to hit on someone they might like, everybody knows that they are not getting any. And this word appears several times in the website. In addition to this, of course, there are plus 4,000 studies in the last 7 years that link beyond any possible doubt the lack of intimacy with aggressive behavior. Just saying, when you're getting it, you're all smiling. Otherwise, you're raging. Even the cat and the dog know that. Second, comrade? For real? Can you possibly sound more pro-communism than describing yourself and your group as comrades? Can you scream that you are anti-democracy more than that? You saw them on the video calling themselves trained Marxists, right? No? You haven't seen it? Here it is.
I also think that it might... I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
Marxism is, of course, anti-democracy. It's the basic ass-kicked, resentful ideology of people who are not getting any and crave for power to buy some and get some of that any, if you know what I mean. And you know the idiom of the snake eating its own tail, right? She can't deny that. She actually said that. Makes you think. In addition to all of these abouts in the BLM organization, there is more. You'll see there is the organization and the movement activists and the casual followers of a philosophy of the movement. It's clear that it's important to remind America that Black lives do matter, since today there are several individuals in our society who actively consider that Black lives don't matter, like people in the KKK. So, the reminder that Black lives matter is important indeed. That's the philosophy, and we agree with that. And we just saw the BLM, the group, but activists and the movement are another part, and they massively and actively ask for reparations for slavery, reparations for redlining, reparations for segregation, although no one is stopping you from moving out of your neighborhood, etc. So what Don Lemon said is not accurate. Black Lives Matter, the organization, the activism in the movement, and the philosophy are so much more than just fighting against police brutality. In any case, it's a very careful publicity strategy. No black person looks like the bad guy. When you and I know that the worst enemies of the black community are toxic black individuals abandoning their women right after they get them pregnant. Toxic black individuals committing their lives to gang activity. Toxic black individuals forcing the black community to black on black crime. And Don Lemon version 2013 knew this.
It's time now for some tough love on the subject.
The reason there is so much violence and chaos in the black precincts is the disintegration of the African American family.
He's got a point. In fact, he's got more than a point. Bill?
Raised without much structure, young black men often reject education and gravitate towards the street culture, drugs, hustling, gangs. Nobody forces them to do that. Again, it is a personal decision.
He is right about that too. But in my estimation, he doesn't go far enough. Because black people, if you really want to fix the problem, here's just 5 things that you should think about doing. Here's number 5. Pull up your pants. Number 4 now is the N-word. Now number 3. Respect where you live. Start small by not dropping trash, littering in your own communities. I've lived in several predominantly white neighborhoods in my life. I rarely, if ever, witness people littering. I live in Harlem now. It's an historically black neighborhood. Every single day I see adults and children dropping their trash on the ground when a garbage can is just feet away. Just being honest here. Number 2, finish school. You want to break the cycle of poverty? Stop telling kids they're acting white because they go to school or they speak proper English. Over the course of a career, a college grad will make nearly $1 million more than a high school graduate. That's a lot of money. And number 1, and probably the most important, just because you can have a baby, it doesn't mean you should, especially without planning for one or getting married first. More than 72% of children in the African American community are born out of wedlock. That means absent fathers. And the studies show that lack of a male role model is an express train right to prison. And the cycle continues. So please, black folks, pay close attention to the hip-hop and rap culture that glorifies everything I just mentioned. Thug and reprehensible behavior. A culture that is making a lot of people rich, just not you.
That's it. These are the big issues affecting the black community. How is that all of these thousands and thousands of activists in the movement don't want to talk about these issues? They won't. That will make many African Americans accountable for their misconducts and their sins. And these quote-unquote activists only want to create a divisive narrative in which the whites are the bad guys and black people are nothing but the victims. Boo. There you have it. Wrong intended identity politics. How many thousands of those black male activists creating division in the country by focusing on white on black violence, which is micro compared to black on black violence, are currently on a wage garnishment because they are not feeding their own children? Their own children! How many of these activists go to traditionally black neighborhoods for looting? How many of these male black activists ask for respect when they don't respect other black people in their neighborhoods and subject them to vandalism, looting, violence, and crime as Terry preached? I don't think Lemon will say something like this again in 2020. Everything is so irrational and so emotional these days. These conclusions wouldn't be repeated today in established media. Anyway, what Don Lemon did in that interview with Cruz was actually positive. Now we can have an all Black Lives Matter movement in which black people hold other fellow black people accountable when they affect their own and supposedly beloved black community. Terry Crews already started it. What do you guys think of the new all Black Lives Matter movement? Do you agree with it? Disagree with it? Let us know in the comments below. I'll be reading all your comments. That's it. Thank you so much for your time. Like and subscribe and share this on your social media. Don't forget to engage. Don't let fictions take over. Speak, comment, tweet, share this on your social media. Don't let the BS win. Kindly check our support links below if you would like to back our work and share more common sense online. See you in the comments. Bye bye.